And welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. So, you guys have probably already seen the news by now. Cody did a live stream earlier of the events. If you haven't already, I encourage you to go check that out. But Cody already did a live stream basically stating that the Colts have made a trade for Yannick Ngakoue and in return sent Rock Yassin to the Las Vegas Raiders in the trade. It was simply a player for player transaction there. And in return, the Raiders also were signing Chandler Jones. They were using that as a way to free up some cap for them. So, a couple things before I get into the actual trade itself and before I get into Yannick Ngakoue. First off, kind of sad that, Chandler Jones is not going to be in Indy. Anyone that's been watching this podcast over the last few weeks knows that I really, really wanted Chandler Jones to be on here. But again, it's just how the world goes. And, I'm glad that Ballard still addressed the defensive end group, which is good. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But yeah, nevertheless, still kind of upset that Chandler Jones isn't going to be an Indianapolis Colt, but we move on, and just glad that Ballard actually addressed the position itself. Second thing, before I get into this, I just want to say thanks to Rock Yassin. I just want to say, man, listen, anyone that's watched this podcast now over the last several years knows that Cody and I have been big supporters of Rock Yassin. And a couple of Colts content creators have also been the same way. When a lot of people were calling you trash, when people were calling you a bum and saying that you needed to be kicked off the team, are now some of the same people who are saying that they wish that they could have kept you around. Your improvement from the first 2 years of your career to 2021 it was exceptional. And it stinks that we had to trade away such a young ascending corner for a position like this. But at the end of the day, you have to do what you have to do to get guys on this defensive line. That was what had to be done. And so I just want to take a second and say thank you, Rock Yassin, for everything you've done. Really glad that you're going to get another shot somewhere, and really hope the best for you. Like I said, Cody and I have been big supporters of Rock, so we really hope that he does a phenomenal job over in Vegas. Now, breaking down this actual trade here, player for player, I think was a great thing. It keeps you from getting rid of any of those picks, so that's a great thing for Indianapolis here. And I think the majority of people would agree that, again, a young, high potential defensive end is better than a young, high potential corner. Okay. So that's the truth. And especially in this Gus Bradley system, that has to be it. And also the great thing about Yannick Ngakoue is the fact that he is so young and knows Gus Bradley's system. Obviously was with Gus Bradley last season, so he knows. And talking about Yannick Ngakoue, his 2021 season, played in all 17 games, had 2 forced fumbles, 3 passes deflected, had 10 sacks this last year. It was actually his first double-digit sack season since his 2017 season, even though in the previous few years he had never had anything lower than 8 sacks. And then had 28 combined tackles, 8 tackles for a loss, 23 QB hits. And I think he had like 60 QB pressures, which, again, if we're going to take those numbers and what they were last year versus what all of the Colts defenders did, his sacks, his hits, and his pressures all would have been number 1 on this Colts team from last year. So that's the kind of defensive end you're getting, is that kind of guy, right? He already has better stats than all of the rest of them. He's going to be 27 going into this next season. I know a lot of people have said, oh, he's past his prime. I don't necessarily believe that. Like I said, this season, it was his best and most efficient season since 2017. And he did it with a brand new team. I mean, again, there's only been 2 seasons where Yannick Ngakoue has had a double-digit season, and one of those was in 2017, the year that he was voted an All-Pro or Pro Bowler, and then this last season with 10. And he shows you he still has it. He's still young. He's got great speed and power, and he's got a great arm chop that allows him to get past tackles to make plays. And he's definitely got a lot of passion and heart for the game, which I absolutely love. Again, I just think this move specifically and what you're trying to do, I'm glad that Ballard finally addressed it. You're getting a guy that can improve with the fact that now he's going into a defensive line that has DeForest Buckner, has Kwity Paye, and these other boys. Ngakoue fits it so well. And, he's going to bring that pressure off the edge. You have to pay some more attention to him now. And that will allow guys like Buckner and Kwity off the edge to be able to get more of that pressure. I wonder how much of a development that will make, not only for the entire defense, but for some of these young guys in here, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, Yannick is only 27, but I mean, for Kwity Paye and Dayo Dangbo, guys that are still learning, guys that are trying to figure things out, you got to wonder what Yannick is able to do for them, taking some of that pressure off of them, right? Getting those more one-on-one looks and seeing if that's going to help them in the near future. Again, knows Gus Bradley's system. You paid him 1 year for $13 million. Again, you're getting that short-term deal. Prove it that, you are amongst one of the best, in the league still. You did double-digit sacks this last season. Let's attempt to try to do it again. Let's see you get double-digit sacks again. And I mean, if Yannick was able to get double-digit sacks with this team, that's his numbers would drastically improve this defense. Again, it may not be as elite as a Chandler Jones, but again, Chandler Jones and Von Miller and Yannick Ngakoue are the 2 defensive ends who have had the most QB pressures of any defensive end since 2016. Yannick Ngakoue is one of them. So Yannick gets to the quarterback quite frequently. And that's exactly what we want in him to be able to do. Again, he's forced fumbles. He's got some big plays there. And I just don't see the wrong in this because, it allows you to now open a lot of things up on that defense because you now have one of your best edge rushers familiar with the system. And again, like I said, guys, with the actual trade itself, it's a bummer that Rock had to leave, which means now for another video, the Colts are going to have to go for a corner at some point. They need someone to take that number 1 outside corner position. But in this system, we kept talking about it. The Colts needed an edge rusher. And Yannick Ngakoue, I did not expect Yannick to be dealt, but here we are. And Yannick is one of those guys that he's still got potential. He's still got a lot in the tank. Again, only 27 years old. He's still got a lot of great years left in him. And like I mentioned before, there hasn't been a season where he hasn't at least gotten 8 sacks. This last season, no one on the Colts got 8 sacks. Okay. And those 8 sack totals were some of his worst. Just this last season, Yannick had 10. Okay. So I can only imagine him trying to do the same. And I'm sure he could probably do the same again. Because, you're going to have DeForest Buckner taking up the majority of the double teams and garnering attention away from him. So I like this trade. I mean, I'm still kind of in shock that it happened. I'm going to have to, learn some more about this and see where it takes us. But I am happy that the Colts went out and got a guy that has 55 and a half sacks in 6 seasons in the NFL. This guy's productive. This guy's passionate. This guy can play. And that's exactly what we needed. We needed somebody to be able to do that. And Yannick Ngakoue is that guy. So thank you guys again so much. Again, if you haven't seen Cody's reaction to this, go check out the live stream that he did. I highly encourage you guys to go do that. Thank you guys again so much for the continued support. I really appreciate it. And as always, go Colts.